want to get now to our Kyle Aboshi. He was there at Portland International Airport when the secretary landed. He's joining us now in the car as you make your way to the ICE facility. Kyle, what were things like at the airport?
Let me set the stage for you a little bit. Keep in mind, this is not the main terminal where regular passengers come and go. This is a private hangar, typically where corporate passengers and corporate jets go. I was waiting in that terminal for quite some time and saw the secretary come out of a meeting with the governor. Had the opportunity to ask Homeland Security Secretary Noem about her visit, what she hoped to accomplish, and then also if she'd have any interest in speaking with everyday Oregonians about the current situation here in Portland. As for the meeting with the governor, I just spoke with Governor Kotek a few minutes ago. The governor was not informed in advance of the Homeland Security Secretary's visit. She did get word this morning. They did not have that confirmed. Then they set up a meeting. That meeting did occur. That lasted about 15, 20 minutes. It was one-on-one between Governor Tina Kotek and Secretary Kristi Noem. Governor Kotek said the focus of that discussion was primarily surrounding the safety of those surrounding the ICE facility, making sure that everyone is safe. She wants to protect the rights of those protesters that are out there, but also make sure the deployment of tear gas is not something that impacts the nearby neighbors. And she emphasized that point to the secretary as well about the well-being of those who live in this area. If you're familiar with South Portland, you know there are a lot of high-rise apartments and condos and a lot of people who live in that area. So obviously a great deal of concern about their health and safety as well. They went on to discuss primarily what's happening there. I asked about possibly any discussion about the National Guard or potentially even the use of active military. And the governor said that was not a point of discussion. Instead, it was specifically around what's happening at the ICE building now and making sure that it is a safe environment, particularly for peaceful protesters or demonstrators outside that building. In looking forward and what the governor expects, she hopes that the secretary will provide an objective view and report back to the president as well after visiting Portland. The governor did not know about the secretary's plans or schedule going forward. That's one of the reasons the governor said she wanted to meet with Secretary Noem right out of the gate, is so that schedules didn't get mixed up and they didn't miss each other. She really wanted the opportunity to sit down and visit with Secretary Noem as quickly as possible. Again, that meeting lasting about 20 minutes. She did suggest that Secretary Noem would be meeting with local law enforcement and suggested that might include Portland Police Chief Bob Day. As you may recall, Chief Day has been very outspoken about the situation in Portland, suggesting that we do not need the National Guard in Portland.
But it sounded almost like an echo.
Again, after her arrival here on a U.S. Coast Guard plane, Secretary Noem visited with Oregon's governor for about 20 minutes. Then she joined a convoy of vehicles presumably headed to the ICE facility. We should also note there were a number of influencers there, people who post regularly on social media. Those people were waiting in the terminal for her arrival, then were taken to vehicles to meet with the secretary, presumably to tour the ICE facility with the Homeland Security Secretary. I'll send it back to you folks.
Kyle, I'm interested to know, did you see Benny Johnson there, the gentleman who broke this news on Instagram of the secretary's visit? Was he in the terminal?
Yes, he and at least two other influencers were in the terminal waiting for the secretary, talking about their flight logistics and getting here. And they obviously flew overnight, many of them from the East Coast, to meet with the secretary and were invited to be with her as part of this tour today. Keep in mind, local media did not have that opportunity. We just happened to be in the terminal, or I happened to be in the terminal, had my phone and had an opportunity to ask her a few questions.
I want to ask, you mentioned that the governor asked her, several things and was requesting of, use of tear gas to avoid impacting neighbors and neighborhoods and different things about hoping that she'd provide perspective to the president. Did the governor give you any indication of the secretary's response to those questions or requests?
So I asked the governor that specifically. I said, what was the tone of this meeting? She said it was very professional, a one-on-one meeting. She also noted that Secretary Noem is a former governor herself, governor of South Dakota. So she understands where Governor Kotek is coming from. And again, she described it as a professional discussion between a current governor and a former governor who now holds the position of Secretary of Homeland Security.
Kyle, I want to say you just didn't happen to be at the terminal. You put yourself there, and we appreciate you getting that from the secretary and getting all this information for us. You've done a lot of this. Can you kind of characterize this? I mean, a 20-minute meeting seems pretty substantial to me.
Yes, it is. What is interesting is the logistics behind this meeting. So typically when elected officials or dignitaries are scheduled to visit a city, there's a great deal of planning in advance. Not only the logistics of transportation, security, coordinating where everyone will be and when, but also the media is typically advised and put in place and given access oftentimes, at least in a limited time frame. In this case, no one really knew that the Homeland Security Secretary was coming to Portland until news broke this morning, including the governor for that matter. And even the governor's office said they had difficulty confirming that fact, and they went to the airport in anticipation of possibly meeting with the Homeland Security Secretary. So that kind of speaks to the fluidity of the situation and how this meeting came about simply by essentially being at the right place at the right time, where the governor was able to sit down with the Homeland Security Secretary and have a rather candid conversation. Now, where it goes from here is anyone's guess. And again, unlike typical visits from elected officials or dignitaries, where we have a timeline or an agenda laid out in advance and we know where they'll be and who they'll be meeting with. In this case, even the governor didn't have that information. The only other that she knew that the secretary would be meeting with is local law enforcement, specifically Portland Police Chief Bob Day. When that meeting will occur, where, no one has that information. Obviously, there is some reason to potentially withhold that for security reasons, but if those at the highest level of state government aren't aware, you wonder who is.
You mentioned that the governor said this was a professional interaction, professional conversation. It sounded like they were able to talk for about 20 minutes, a good amount of time. Did she give any indication that she felt hopeful about something positive coming out of this visit?
I'm not sure if hopeful is the right word, but she certainly was not dismissive or pessimistic. I guess neutral would be maybe the best word to use, in that, I think she appreciated the fact that she was able to express herself and raise her concerns as the state's top leader, specifically about the health and well-being of people who live in that area. Again, touching specifically on the use of tear gas by federal agents in trying to protect the building and keep demonstrators away. And then secondarily, protecting the First Amendment rights of individuals who are peacefully demonstrating outside of the ICE facility in South Portland. Those are the primary points that the governor was trying to make from this meeting, as it was explained to me by the governor.
All right, Kyle Aboshi, where's your location now? Kyle, you must be getting close.
We're heading westbound on I-84 towards the downtown area. But as you folks have been documenting, the area surrounding the ICE facility is fairly secure at this hour. So I'm not sure how close we'll be able to get. But obviously, the interactions we've had so far this morning with both the Homeland Security Secretary and the governor of Oregon have been rather fruitful, not only in getting information, but having an opportunity to see them and see how the situation is playing out in real time.
Kyle Aboshi reporting for us on the way to the ICE facility. Thank you so much for your time.